If you don't know what to study in college, then don't fucking go. Figure out what the fuck you want to do in life first. The best way to do that is to go on a 3-month road trip across the country. Become a reconnaissance man. Check out this novel and others by Aaron Clary on Amazon.com. A link is in the description.
This is Bad Popp. I got bad news and some good news for you. The good news is I do take requests. It could take some time for me to get to them. The bad news is common sense isn't so common. In fact, it is so rare, it falls in the same category as a superpower.
In this video, I want to talk about gender as a social construct.
Right.
Speaking of superpowers, we're going to be jumping into MDMP, which is a military decision-making process, or I call it synthetic common sense. In reality, we should call it MDP, because when you're putting up with all this bullshit, you're really taking it in both ends. And with that being said, open wide and take your pill, because the burning is about to begin.
Yeah.
This right here is the basic MDMP. And if you find this on Google, this is the easiest one I could locate, because if I did one of the more complicated ones, I've been doing this for hours. And I'm gonna quote a famous woman of color. Ain't nobody got no time for that. Someone's gonna die. If you were ever in a briefing and you heard that in the back, it was me, and I'm not sorry. You have two different types of MDMP. You have the reactive model, which is what 85% of the Army uses, or you have the proactive model, which is really only used by a small percentage to include special operations. I'm going to be dissecting this using infantry speak because, to be honest, I can't really do it any other way. And this is what happens when you've done this over and over and over again over 30 years. This is a graphic representation of a battalion. They get the mission from higher, which is like a big loaf of bread. They tear it in half, and the command takes one half, and the staff takes the other. So they each take their half of the bread loaf and cut it into slices, and they analyze all those slices, and when they're done, they put it all together and then reattach the entire loaf. All right, I know you're like, bread? Slices? What's Popp talking about? That's exactly what I'm trying to convey here.
It might sound like a complete waste of time, but that's because it is.
And once they get that bread put together, they have to figure out how many sandwiches they really need to make. And that's called wargaming. Yeah! And when they're done playing with their meat, they come up with a one course of action they're going to use, they write the op order, and then the commander issues the op order. And yes, it takes all of this just to issue that one order. Army doctrine states this. It's a 1/3, 2/3 rule. 1/3 of the time is to plan the mission, 2/3 is to rehearse and execute the mission. But when you're using just this method, the reactive, it hardly ever works out like that. You have 24 hours to execute this mission. So by doctrine, you have 8 hours to plan and 16 hours to rehearse and execute. So by the time these guys found out they had a mission, 4, 6, or 8 hours is not enough time to do all the rehearsals. You're looking at an Operation Clusterfuck. I shit you not, I have seen this. People get left behind, weapons get left behind, wrong ammo, no food and water. It is fucked up.
You're fucking dead. And your friends too. Beautiful.
And there is the heart of the matter, and why we call it synthetic common sense. And that brings us to the proactive model. Winning. I'm not talking about that shit you wash your face with. In any military organization where you have sergeants and officers, all of the sergeants know each other, and chances are one of the master sergeants or sergeant majors came from one of the line units. He knows something's coming down the pipe, and he picks up the phone and goes, hey, get your guys ready. It's just that simple, because this really fucking works. So these guys actually have 21, 22 hours to react. So they can do the RFIs, which are requests for information. They can go and make sure all the weapons are clean. They can take them apart, reassemble them so they're functioning. They can go down and make sure it has their water. I mean, basically they make sure everything's good. Because it only takes one person to fuck up and it gets fucking nuts. Over here, I have some basic rules of thumb that goes along with synthetic common sense for some reason. This 1/3, 2/3 rule, almost never followed. You know, they say rules are made to be broken. How about rules are made to not be followed? And that is why military intelligence is an oxymoron. Emphasis on morons, I'm just saying. Because guess what? Most of the time, the intelligence you get is not so intelligent. And you know why that is? Because the intel nugs out there never walk the ground. 30-pound brain, 200 IQ, and not a lick of common sense. And this is a very, very big contributing factor into this. Someone's gonna die. Well, like these 30-pound brains, they come up with a great plan. But usually it won't work because Murphy steps in to fuck it up. And you know who Murphy works for? Whitey. And he works for the man. And, see it's dark in here? And after Murphy steps in, this shit goes into the fan, and it's the sergeants that make the plan happen on the ground. When Murphy steps in, you see all this? All this shit that made the order? It's nothing more than, I don't know, a suggestion. Because playing the game Battleship and fighting in a battleship are completely two different things. I know this seems crazy, but it's true. And you know what else is true? The honesty rule. And if I have to be honest, friendly fire isn't. So when you call in for fire, make sure you add 100 meters for that margin of error. Hey dude, what happened? Oh shit. That's a lot of paperwork. Water obstacles are just that. Do it right, keep your guys alive. Do it wrong, people gonna die. I can't tell you how many times I ran into this when I was a young nug. You know, we're looking at the map and like, oh, that's just a creek. We'll walk right through. It'll be dry this time of year. And it was 60 feet wide and 8 feet deep. You know that 65 pounds of bullshit on your back? Now cart that shit around soaking wet. And we call that the ignorance anchor. Winning, no. And why do we call it the ignorance anchor? Because guess what? If that soldier didn't waterproof his shit, he's going right to the bottom. And then I'm gonna fish him out with a hook or a guy in scuba gear. And while I'm down there looking for you, hopefully I'll find a couple more Rolex watches. Winning, call back. Because military intelligence usually isn't. Whenever they brief you on the enemy situation and they say you have a squad on the objective, always go up one higher. So if it's a squad, it's a platoon. If it's a platoon, it's a company. If it's a company, it's a battalion. So you're planning ahead of time to handle more guys than they put on the ground. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it.
Fucking sex shooter. It's not body's genius. What the fuck were you gonna do? Laugh the last three to death?
Let me tell you this, surprise in war sucks, and it's also called an ambush. There are no happy surprises in war. There is no sex in the champagne room. I'm just bringing it to you now. Every once in a while, you get a handy from a Thai hooker. But don't ever hit that stuff raw, man. You don't want to catch none of that shit. You know what else is a bad surprise? Herpes. Gonorrhea. No. And the worst kind of surprise is this. You're taking fire from 3 out of 4 sides. I don't know what you would call that. What would you call it, Admiral Akbar?
It's a trap!
And if you find yourself in a, I don't know, trap, you probably ignored 1 or 2 obstacles and put your men in this position. And all those people that are shooting at you from 3 out of 4 sides, they know you're coming. They had bottlenecked you into a murder hole. And that is why when you get stupid orders, you ask for them to be repeated slowly. Stupid doesn't always stick the first time. Sir, could you say that again slowly? And everyone starts giggling and he says it, he goes, well, that sounds kind of asinine. There you go. If you get attacked, something was different and somebody fucked up. And that is why it pays to have people repeat shit slowly, because they might not know. Now listen, a lot of these missions, they are rushed. And when that happens, you miss rehearsals, you don't bring the right equipment, and it turns into an orchestra of your own demise. And that is why this model of synthetic common sense looks good, but it's only reactive and that shit's expensive. And that is why this proactive model, it might not look like much, but it fucking works. That doesn't mean you're not gonna piss some people off, but hey, fuck them. I've actually done this before, and I've actually had the commander show up and ready to brief the mission. I'm like, hey, we're good, sir. We've got 3 Humvees ready to go for the movement to contact in 4 hours. We're good. He's like, how the fuck did you know this? I'm a Green Beret, baby. And I'm gonna give myself a homo suspicion point, but it needs to be said. That's why the back door swings both ways. And that would be why the synthetic common sense model is correct. But the proactive model is fucking right. In this instance, it's better to be right and not correct, because the two are not the same. I don't know about you, but getting ready for an operation in 4 hours or getting ready for an operation in 18 hours, what seems better to you? Oh, that's right, I forgot. You don't have any common sense. So I'll tell you, 18 hours. And that is why common sense is a superpower. It's a damn shame. You know what's not a shame? These shirts. go fucking buy one. Click on the links below. Race Ride Apparel, 10% off, bitches. Also in the links below, you're gonna see our Patreon and PayPal accounts. And common sense dictates the shit is expensive, so send us some money. And while you're at it, don't taste no dick. And while we're at it, wipe off your mouth and click the subscribe button. Because if you don't, I'm gonna send a message up through your back door. You got it? I used to always be that guy in the back. I get these crazy fucking orders, so I'd be like, someone's gonna die. Shut up, Popp! Listen, anyone who's ever been in battalion operations knows the officer who's just staring there. They're giving the briefing. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. And when these guys are done dueling with their, I don't know, lunch meat or pork swords, that's so fucked up.